Earlier this month, we got a financial report indicating that Foxconn is preparing to manufacture a new Nintendo Switch console for Q1 of 2024. But with this information, there was some room for debate because there could be some translation errors. We're not entirely sure what Q1 may be. And with these kinds of things, you typically want more than one source on it before you totally believe it's happening. Well, today we are getting even more news. We have another financial report for PixArt that is indicating a new games console is coming out in early 2024. Is this game console the Nintendo Switch 2? That's what we're talking about today.
Hey, listen!
Welcome everyone, this is Andre's Restart, and today we're talking about what may be Nintendo Switch 2. But before we go forward, let me point out that we are aiming to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you do enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. With your help, it just might be possible. So we got some news this morning from Money DJ, a Chinese publication which talks about different financial reports from different companies that are manufacturing, such as Foxconn in the past, and now PixArt. And what's being said here, according to this translation, it's worth noting that the supply chain pointed out that the Japanese game machine will be launched early next year, which has been absent for many years. The game machine is also one of the key customers of PixArt. So this isn't necessarily Nintendo Switch 2, or even a Nintendo console. Could be something else. But PixArt does work with some of the SoCs in some of the Nintendo systems, such as the Wii and the Nintendo Switch. And Nintendo hasn't released a game console in recent history, and they are a Japanese game company, so if they're releasing a new system, it would be considered a Japanese game machine. So maybe it's possible this is somehow like some sort of PlayStation thing that's coming out early next year, but that's not what's being expected. And when we also factor in that we heard about the Foxconn financial report that's also indicating a Q1 release for a new Nintendo console, this seems to support the idea that, yes, something is happening in the first half of 2024 when it comes to a new Nintendo system. Now, I understand many out there are expecting a holiday 2024 release or even beyond. But this is what the information from Money DJ is suggesting. They put out financial reports and this is what's being indicated. Now, where in the first half of 2024 might this end up being? I gotta think the earliest would be March, but potentially this comes out in the summertime. If Nintendo goes for more of a summer release or something closer to that, then they don't have to announce the system this year. They can wait a little bit into next year. Maybe they can announce it around February or March, and they have a 3 to 4 month window marketing it until the summer. But there has been discussion that maybe something can be announced sooner than later. NW Player 123 has indicated in the past that something may be brewing in the not so distant future. There has been a lot of talk that maybe Switch 2 is announced this year. I do think if that happens, Nintendo would have to do a price drop because that would be impacting sales too much for the holiday. But if they do a price drop, considering the kind of games that are coming out this year, they're not the kind of games that you would necessarily need to play on more powerful hardware. They may have a pretty smooth transition in mind. And let me just point out, because this always seems to be a concern when these videos come out. No, when Switch 2 comes out, it doesn't mean the Switch 1 is no longer going to see support, that it's not going to be getting games. It will continue to be getting games for the foreseeable future, for the next few years, I would say. But they do have to transition over to their next system as well. So by the time the Switch is done, they already have another system that has a lot of people who are playing it already, and they can continue going with a pretty good amount of momentum. While I'm totally okay with waiting until maybe the end of 2024 to get a new Nintendo system, there are some things that are interesting about maybe an announcement happening this year. So recently we've heard that there's supposed to be Zelda something happening later this year, and it's supposed to be not related to Tears of the Kingdom. Some people have been suggesting that maybe it's the Oracle of Ages and Seasons games that have just released on Nintendo Switch Online as of last night, which is great. I'm very excited about that. But these were announced a while ago, so I don't think the rumor that we'd be getting Zelda news is news we already knew about. So I doubt it's that. And if it is, actually something that's going to happen, what might that be? If Nintendo's going to have some sort of announcement event or live stream or trailer, maybe this is where we might see something new that's Zelda related. Now, I'm not expecting a whole-on new game, but maybe we could see a tech demo or an announcement of a remake. Historically speaking, Nintendo has used tech demos in the past to showcase the power of a new system. They may do this time around as well. Of course, considering how ahead of the game Nintendo seems to be nowadays, how they have so many games that have been done for a certain amount of time, they kind of just let them sit until they decide it's the right time to put them out. Nintendo may not be in a position where they need to do tech demos, but they can actually just showcase games. So maybe they're skipping DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, and instead they're focusing on maybe remaking Ocarina of Time, for example. If they're doing that, maybe they could showcase that in the trailer. Obviously, this is just like, pie in the sky, dreaming. I think there's some semblance of reason here, but it's not an expectation. I'm simply putting it out there as a possibility. But there are also rumors that Metroid Prime 4 is supposedly done, something I've mentioned myself that I've heard, but on top of that, they're supposed to come out by the end of the fiscal year. That would be by March of 2024. And that apparently could be a tremendous showcase for what new hardware could do. So maybe that's something that could play into maybe this potential early release for Switch 2. I don't know if it would be the launch day game, but it's something I would consider. I think if we're getting a new system in early 2024, we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for a new 3D Mario. I just don't think Nintendo would follow up Mario Bros. Wonder in October, Mario RPG in November, with a brand new 3D Mario in, say, March, April, or May. I mean, maybe May, because at that point, there's been a pretty good amount of separation, but March seems a bit too soon to me. Of course, there are different Mario games. Maybe it doesn't really matter, and they'll still do really well regardless. But to close things out, because there certainly has got to be a great amount of debate about this subject, I think what we need to wait for is if there will be an announcement by the end of August. Because we're getting Gamescom, saying Nintendo hasn't been in for a while, and also Nintendo Live, and also PAX, and there is a history of potentially some hardware being demonstrated at least Gamescom. So, I'm thinking that if there is going to be a Switch 2 coming out in early 2024, and they need to announce it this year, then they probably would want to announce it and showcase it, maybe not like have it playable, but at least have it in cases or some trailers, something to kind of advertise it a little bit and get it out there so people know about it at some of these events. So if there's not an announcement within the next 3 weeks, right before the Gamescom event, then I don't think we're getting an announcement this year. But all that would really tell me is that we're not getting Switch 2 in, say, like March. Now, they could wait until, again, February or March to announce the system and then come out with it, say, maybe in June or July. So I wouldn't be giving up on an early-ish 2024 release if we don't get an announcement within a few weeks, but I would be thinking at least a few months later. But what do you guys think is happening? What do you make of this latest news, of these different financial reports from these different manufacturers that are suggesting a new Nintendo console is coming out early next year? This is Andre's Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.